Have you ever noticed that the moment you start tracking something, it suddenly becomes way more important? Whether it's steps on a fitness tracker, likes on a social media post, or sales targets at work, measurement has a funny way of changing what we focus on. We often think of measurement as a neutral tool, just a way to see what's happening. But the truth is, it's never neutral. It actively shapes what we care about. So, how does this happen? Well, it starts with a very simple human trait. Our attention is limited. We can't focus on everything at once. We need signals to tell us what's important. And that's exactly what measurement does. It makes certain things visible. When something becomes visible, it grabs our attention. And whatever gets our attention starts to matter more. Think about it. A company might introduce a new metric just for informational purposes, with no rewards or punishments attached. But people will still notice it. They'll start tracking it, talking about it. Slowly but surely, their focus shifts towards that measured thing. While unmeasured aspects, no matter how important, fade into the background. It's not about bad intentions. It's just how our minds work. Visibility creates a sense of importance. Dashboards, reports, and charts all highlight specific parts of reality. They send a subtle message about what the organization values. In meetings, people discuss what they can see. They compare performance using visible numbers. Success and failure get defined by these metrics. What if you want to talk about something that isn't measured, like team morale or long-term innovation? It becomes much harder to defend. It lacks representation. In a world dominated by data, unquantified factors struggle for legitimacy. So, importance naturally shifts toward what is measurable. This leads to another subtle but powerful effect. The metric becomes a substitute for the real value. Most systems can't directly measure what they truly care about, like quality, trust, or learning. So, they use proxy simpler, measurable indicators that are supposed to represent those complex values. A customer satisfaction score is a proxy for happiness. A response time metric is a proxy for good service. But over time, we start to forget what the proxy was supposed to represent. People stop asking if the metric still reflects what truly matters. Instead, they focus on improving the number itself. The metric becomes the goal. This isn't usually a conscious decision. It happens as people learn that the system rewards measured outcomes, not unmeasured intentions. It's a classic case of what is known as Goodhart's law. When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure. Our brains are also wired to respond to feedback. Measurement creates powerful feedback loops. When a number goes up, we feel good. When it goes down, we feel concerned. These emotional responses reinforce our attention on the metric. Even without any financial incentives, we start to care about the numbers because they give us a sense of progress and control. Over time, our concern shifts from the underlying reality to the indicator itself. We care about making the number look good, rather than achieving the real-world outcome it was supposed to track. This intense focus on metrics also has a narrowing effect. To measure something, you have to simplify it. Complex situations are boiled down to a few key performance indicators. This simplification can be useful, but it comes at a cost. When measurement dominates our attention, our perspective shrinks. We focus only on what can be counted, and we start to lose sight of everything else. Qualitative factors like context, professional judgment, long-term consequences, and human relationships get pushed to the side. They are harder to express in a spreadsheet and easier to ignore in a discussion focused on hard data. As our perspective narrows, our priorities change, often without us even realizing it. Decisions start to align with the metrics rather than with the original purpose. Every decision needs criteria. When metrics are readily available, they often become the default criteria. Instead of asking, is this the right thing to do for our customers or our mission? We start asking, will this action move the number in the right direction? This feels rational and objective. Metrics provide clarity and make complex choices seem simple. But over time, this changes what we value. We start making choices that serve the metric, not the mission. Anything that can't be easily measured struggles to influence our decisions. This also encourages what's called local optimization. Measurement often happens at the level of an individual, a team, or a specific process. Naturally, people respond by optimizing their little corner of the world. They work hard to improve the metrics they are responsible for. From their perspective, this is success. But at the system level, all this local optimization can lead to some really distorted outcomes. Different departments might end up working against each other. Trade-offs are ignored. The focus on short-term, local metrics can damage the long-term health of the entire system. The very language we use starts to change. What is measured is what gets talked about. Meetings revolve around numbers. Reports are filled with charts and graphs. Success is framed in quantitative terms. Concepts that don't have a number attached to them slowly disappear from the conversation. They're harder to argue for and easier to dismiss. This conversational shift reinforces the change in priorities. What we talk about feels important. What we don't talk about fades from our collective awareness. And why are metrics so powerful? Because they have an aura of objectivity. Numbers feel factual and precise, less subjective than a person's judgment or experience. This gives them a special kind of authority. People are less likely to question a measured outcome, even if their gut tells them something is wrong. Questioning the data can make you seem biased or unprofessional. So, measurement shapes what we care about by defining what feels legitimate to care about. This effect is even stronger in our automated world. Dashboards refresh in real time. Metrics are constantly updated. This continuous exposure makes these signals impossible to ignore. They dominate our attention all day long. When measurement is continuous, our care for it becomes continuous too. We feel a constant pressure to monitor, adjust, and respond. Automation turns measurement into a persistent presence that shapes our priorities in real time. This often leads to a short-term focus. Why? Because short-term outcomes are just easier to measure. Long-term effects are much harder to capture in a simple metric. As a result, our attention gets biased toward immediate results. Actions that boost a metric this quarter feel valuable, even if they harm the company in the long run. This isn't a moral failing. It's a structural bias created by the measurement system itself. Finally, an over-reliance on metrics can crowd out professional judgment. Judgment involves experience, context, and nuance. Measurement offers the illusion of certainty. When the numbers dominate, judgment can feel unnecessary. The metric seems to provide a clear answer. Over time, people learn to defer to the numbers, even when they know the situation is more complex. What we care about becomes what can be measured, not what needs to be understood. So, what's the solution? Should we just stop measuring things? Of course not. Measurement is essential for learning and improvement, but we need to be much more thoughtful about it. We can design our systems with restraint. We can distinguish between metrics used for learning and those used for high-stakes evaluation. We can limit the visibility of certain metrics to prevent them from dominating everyone's attention. Most importantly, we need to preserve space for qualitative judgment and conversation. The key takeaway is this: measurement is never a passive act. It directs attention, shapes conversations, narrows perspectives, and influences decisions. Over time, it quietly but profoundly redefines what matters. Recognizing this allows us to use measurement more carefully, as a tool to serve our values, not to replace them. Because in the end, an organization doesn't care about what it says it values, it cares about what it measures. Thanks so much for watching. If you found this interesting, please like this video and subscribe for more insights into how systems shape our world. See you next time.